With Philly season kicking off in, well, it's this month, let's give you some predictions on how the team will go. We'll start off with a positive one right out the gate. Aaron Nola will not be as bad as Aaron Nola was last season. Aaron Nola last season was one of the worst starters in all of baseball. They shut him down with a phantom injury that probably wasn't real in order to get his head right, in order to work on mechanics, and when he came back, it didn't work. And the coup de grace of all of this was when he is lauded for a playoff performance where he only really, I think he went 3 innings. And that's always been Aaron Nola's problem, is that through the first 3 innings of a game, he looks great, and then all of a sudden, the 4th inning comes. I mean, the fact that the RAV 4th inning is a joke with Aaron Nola starts is a problem. But usually he will look like a Cy Young winner when then all of a sudden with 2 outs, there's a bloop single, there's a walk, and then there's a 3-run home run. And last year was the worst of all. We've always dealt with Aaron Nola being a guy that is privy to giving up home runs. I mean, it's like he lives to give up the 3-run shot, but we've not dealt with Aaron Nola like that. He was horrendous. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Now, I will still not watch his starts because, as I said a year ago, and I got ripped for it, but you know what? Damn it, I was right. They're not entertaining. Like, they're not an enjoyable watch. Watching an Aaron Nola start is never enjoyable because of the fact that he will look like a Cy Young winner, but you never have faith that you're getting that stuff the entire game. He is the proverbial cock tease. So, I do think, though, that this season he will revert back to a 3.6, 3.7 ERA pitcher and not nearly as bad as he was a year ago. Now, are you paying for that? Did the Phillies think that they were getting a guy that is a 3.6, 3.7? No, probably not. They wanted low 3s. They wanted a number 2 starter that they would throw out there as we have 2 aces and you don't. Well, I mean, they do. They have Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez, but when they signed Aaron Nola, they thought that he was going to be their second ace. In reality, we all knew that, he was the second starter. But I think when you look at his career numbers, and I've brought this up in a lot of videos, he is an up and down pitcher. Last year was the down year. This year is supposed to be, historically speaking, the up year. This is supposed to be his decent year. I don't think it's going to be a situation where he is going to be in Cy Young contention, but I do think that we will look back and go, oh, okay, he was pretty decent. He had a couple of Aaron Nola starts in there where you went, yep, okay, I recognize that from last year. But for the most part, he will be a very, very solid pitcher for the Phillies. Moving on to a negative, though. I do not believe that the players that the Phillies let go, I should word this, no, the players the Phillies chose over the players they let go was the wrong move, and the players they let go will have better seasons than the players they brought in. And 2 in particular I'm talking about, Ranger Suarez over Aaron Nola and Matt Strahm over Brad Keller. Brad Keller is coming off of one really, really, really good year, and it's Matt Strahm-esque. And you know what? If the Phillies can if the Phillies can work it so that the return for Matt Strahm ends up actually being a solid major league reliever, then it's going to look fine. If you end up getting decent Brad Keller, if you end up getting, the production is the same right there, then no one's going to bat an eye. But it just felt like they were kind of going with the unknown in Brad Keller, where the known is Matt Strahm. I know what I'm getting from Matt Strahm. I've seen Matt Strahm pitch in Philly. I've seen him pitch effectively in Citizens Bank Park. I know what I'm getting there. Now, Matt Strahm has got 1 year left on his deal, and there was issues in the clubhouse, I guess, not necessarily with teammates, but with coaches, and that was a big trend of this offseason, was getting out those guys that kind of push back on Rob Thompson, I guess, a little bit. One of them being Matt Strahm, the other obviously being Nick Castellanos, but that doesn't mean that Brad Keller automatically becomes a better pitcher than Matt Strahm. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I'm very confident that I will not be wrong, unfortunately, when it comes to Ranger Suarez over Aaron Nola. And that's a topic I've talked about quite a bit, so I'll speed through it. But the Phillies made a conscious decision when they signed Aaron Nola to a ridiculous 7-year contract, and they're paying him, $24 million. They made the conscious decision that they were choosing Aaron Nola over Ranger Suarez, even though Ranger Suarez was the better pitcher. But they live in this world where, 8 years ago, Aaron Nola was one of, if not the best pitchers in baseball. He was. He had better numbers than Roy Halladay when Roy Halladay won the Cy Young. But that was 8 years ago. And when the Phillies made that move, you went, okay, yep, that's a problem. Yeah, because even though Ranger Suarez would struggle to get to 200 innings a year, when he was on the mound, you knew he was good. Oh, my Mac and cheese bites are done. If you're wondering what that sound was. You knew he was good. You don't know what you're getting from Aaron Nola. And I feel like when you look at both contracts, by the way, they are set to expire in 5 years, both of them. And they're basically getting paid the same amount of money. So it's going to be a good look at to Dave Dombrowski. Looking at another, I don't look at it as a negative or a positive, but Dave Dombrowski will not, some people will view it as not learning from his lesson. And Dave Dombrowski will not sign Jesus Luzardo to a contract extension before the season starts. I actually think this is a good move. Because much like with Aaron Nola starts, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting from Jesus Luzardo. The first 2 months of last year, he was lights out. He was literally the best pitcher in baseball. And then the wheels fell off. And then June and July hit, and you went like, oh, this is rough. So to hand that guy $25 million, I don't want to repeat. I don't want two pitchers on my roster in Nola and in Jesus Luzardo. Hit thumbs down for that. The tripod just collapsed. I don't want two pitchers on my roster that are getting a combined $50 million that you do not know what you're getting. Like, you have no idea what you're getting day in and day out from those guys. And I feel like we need to see a little bit more of Jesus Luzardo before the Phillies hand him, $25 million a year. Now, it would suck to not have him because right now, their depth is a legitimate problem. So moving forward, like right now, the only guys they have locked down are Painter, Wheeler, Sanchez, and Nola, and they don't have that fifth guy, and there's nobody coming in the farm system other than like Gene Cabrera, but I don't know how much of a major league starter he is. He probably would be like a 5, but you'd like in a perfect world where Jesus Luzardo would be on this roster, but I think in this situation it really does depend on price. A year ago, it didn't. A year ago, it made no sense for Dave Dombrowski to play hardball with Kyle Schwarber, both on the field and off. This year, I think it does make a lot of sense. Moving on to predictions for the Phillies, I do think that Bryce Harper will return back to quote-unquote elite form. Now, all of this, though, has to do with his health. And I think that's one of the reasons why Bryce Harper, when you look at his numbers the past couple years in Philly, they haven't been MVP-like because of the fact he's always dealt with some form of injury. He's always missed some time. Part of it is the reason how he plays, I should say. And part of it's just dumb luck. Blake Snell breaking his hand on a fastball. Like, that's dumb luck. Tommy John surgery keeping him out. It's not unheard of for position players to have Tommy John, but it's kind of dumb luck. I think banking, if he is healthy, you will see an MVP-ish type year. I think one of the things that hurts him, though, from getting those elite numbers is the fact that they do not have a guy to protect him in Alec Bohm. They just don't. And I made the video a couple weeks ago. You can check it out there where I brought up easy solutions, and I'll spoiler alert one right now, but it was like, all right, well, if you want Bryce Harper to return to elite form, protect him with Kyle Schwarber. Like, Kyle Schwarber hitting fourth makes the most sense to get the most production out of this lineup. Kyle Schwarber hitting second makes no sense. The only thing that makes less sense than Kyle Schwarber hitting second is Kyle Schwarber hitting first. But, I'd like to optimize the amount of times where Kyle Schwarber's coming up with the bases loaded, and the easiest way to do that is hitting him fourth, but it would also protect Bryce Harper. Having Alec Bohm protect Bryce Harper, that's not it to me. But I think if he is healthy, yeah, he'll return to form. I think he's so motivated by not just the comments. He said, on publicly, like, I don't get motivated by that stuff. But I think one of the underrated things he will be motivated by is the fact that he and many baseball players are expecting to not play next year. And he is reaching a point in his career where, like, he's getting up there. The prime Bryce Harper is probably done, but that doesn't mean that Bryce Harper we have is not good. So I think when he looks at it, he's like, I got to cash in now because I don't know what I'm going to look like in 2 years. And I think you're to see a super motivated Bryce Harper. I think the mood in the Phillies this year is going to be one where they are realizing the window is still open but quickly closing. Their players are getting older. They had a really good opportunity last year, but they ran into the eventual World Series champions. There's nothing to be ashamed of with that. Unfortunately, they did it in the NLDS. I hate the best of 5. And I don't know if that would have changed things. I really don't. I've always hated the best of 5. But, yeah. The other one is Aiden Miller will not make his Phillies debut this year. I think the way that the Phillies handled both Andrew Painter and Justin Crawford last year, I think that's a perfect example of how they're going to handle Aiden Miller, and especially the way that they handled Justin Crawford. Andrew Painter didn't deserve a promotion last year. He didn't pitch well enough. You know, he was a 5 ERA pitcher in AAA. And he'd never pitched above, what, single A? So it's fine, but it wasn't what everybody was expecting. My dog's now whining. This video has been horrible in terms of noise and stuff, but I'll get you water in a second, bud. But with Justin Crawford, like he obliterated AAA pitching. It was a surprise a year ago when the Phillies had him not go back to AA and go to AAA, and then he proved them right by, you know, hitting 330, 340, and his on-base percentage was 400, and he was on pace to steal 50 bags until he got injured late in the season. But they decided to make the conscious effort of bringing him up, and more importantly, wasting a year of his arbitration rights by doing so. That isn't worth it to us. We will just go out. We'll get a Harrison Bader to play center field. He's a proven major league player. That's a better option for us. We don't have a rookie out there in October. I don't disagree with the move, but the guy was way above AAA pitching. Like he had nothing left to prove. Aiden Miller might be in the same boat this year. Aiden Miller's probably headed to AAA where he will play third base, and it's no secret that he will be the future third baseman of this team. But it doesn't really matter how well he plays. I do not foresee a situation where Aiden Miller at any point plays in Philadelphia this year. And I'm not dying to see him because I think Alec Boehm's fine for what he is. But I think the Phillies are making a conscious decision that if they're paying these guys like Kyle Schwarber and the Bryce Harpers and the Zach Wheelers, and if they're paying them the big money, then they have to make up for it somewhere. And that somewhere is guys like Justin Crawford on their rookie deal and like an Aiden Miller. And to waste a year of that when you've already got a guy in the major leagues in Alec Boehm would be foolish. You're bringing him up for the sake of bringing him up, especially when you have Otto Kemp who can play third, who can play second, who can play the outfield, who can play first. Like he can be that guy, and Edmundo Sosa as well. So I don't foresee a situation where he is, in fact, called up at any point this year. And that about does it. I mean, I think the Phillies are a really good team. Again, I think that they've gotten worse, but it's not so worse where we're going to look at it and they miss the playoffs. I just don't know if they're 96 win good. I think they're maybe 87, 88. I think they win the division. I think they go into October. And when it comes to October, like anything can happen, you know? And I think we've seen that the past couple of years. The best team does not always win in October, meaning the best team with the best record doesn't always win. Last couple of years, though, that has been the case with the Dodgers. But we'll see what happens. You know, injuries pop up, and the hot team, which the Phillies ran into the year before with the Mets, that pops up. The Phillies have been that hot team before. When they went to the World Series against the Astros, they were that hot team. So we'll see what happens. I think the Phillies are still a really good team. I understand the negativity around it, but I still think they're going to produce. They're going to win a lot of games. It's just a matter of, is the fan base is apathy set in? And we're just like, okay. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. As far as comments go, I'm probably only going to check channel members, so become a channel member. That'd be really big. It'd support the channel. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. I'm going to go now because I got to fill up his water bowl, and then I got to grab the mac and cheese bites, and then I got to eat. All right, goodbye. UFC 326 is this Saturday with a made-up belt on the line. Charles Oliveira will take on Max Holloway for the BMF belt. I always think these are just an insult to your intelligence. Like, I don't think that Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway is doing less numbers if there's no belt on the line. But, you know, now this is the new UFC. We can't have pay-per-views without belts. So, interim BMF. I saw a report earlier that was a couple days ago that there was like another made-up belt. It was Ilia Topuria, I think, wanting to fight for the pound-for-pound belt. I don't know how that would work, you know? Like, okay, so if the number 1 pound-for-pound guy is a flyweight and the number 2 is a middleweight, are they supposed to fight now for the pound-for-pound belt? It's ridiculous. But watch the UFC make it. That should be fun. Either way, though, this card is a good one, and we're going to break it down. Main card first, and as always, is this card worth $80? No, it's not. Good thing you don't have to pay for it because it's on Paramount Plus. Best part. by far. We'll kick off with the first fight of the night, which is actually good. This card actually would be, I think, I joke, but I think this card would be worth close to $80. The first fight of the night is one of the reasons why. You've got Bruno Ferreira against G-Rod, RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. This is a rematch where Bruno Ferreira ended up beating Gregory Rodriguez in their first go-around, but since then, both fighters have enjoyed some wins, some losses. I mean, you got Bruno Ferreira, who's only, he's 15-2. G-Rod, though, lives up to that name. He goes and walks you down and has dynamite in his hands. And I think if you look at both of these fights, or if you look at both these fighters, I think the advantage is Gregory Rodriguez, just because he hits harder. I think in their first fight, Gregory Rodriguez got clipped. Like, he got caught. It happens to just about every fighter, and I don't see it happening again. And I think if these two are going to be in a stand-up match, which I don't think Bruno Ferreira really wants, but if it ends up happening, then I'm going to favor the guy who hits harder. I'm also going to favor, by the way, the guy that has had the better competition, which G-Rod has. And that's nothing against the competition that Bruno Ferreira has had, but when you look at G-Rod's fights since the Bruno Ferreira fight, he has faced stiffer competition. Whether he has lost to that competition or not, he's faced stiffer competition. And because of that, I think he ends up righting this wrong and ends up getting the W. I have G-Rod by knockout in this one. The next fight is one of my locks of the night. I have no idea what the betting line is. I imagine it's going to be heavy in the way of the guy I'm picking. But you've got Drew Dober going against Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson is one of my least liked fighters in the UFC. He is a guy that somehow continues to be on anything but the early prelims. He is a guy that really should have been released a long time ago. He is filler. And he's a vet that the UFC will throw out there despite a dog shit record of 24-19. They will throw out there because, I don't know if you're aware of this, at one point he beat Dustin Poirier. Yeah, like 10 years ago. So they'll throw that out there and they'll show some highlights. But I see this fight going exactly as just about every single Michael Johnson fight goes. Michael Johnson will come out, and he'll look really good on the feet. And the announcers, really it's Joe Rogan, will make mention, oh man, Michael Johnson looks fast tonight. Oh, he looks so, look at the hand speed. The hand speed is definitely in the favor of Michael Johnson. And then he's going to get caught. Because that's what happens in just about every fight. Now, to his credit, he has rattled off 3 straight victories, and I have picked him to lose in all 3 of those victories, whether it be the Daniel Zahuber fight, whether it be the Azabar fight, whether it be whoever he fought before that. Like I pick him to lose because that's exactly what he was for a long, long time, was the sacrificial lamb, going like 8-2 at one point in like 10 fights, and I think that losing streak, or that winning streak ends this go around with a good testing competition to Drew Dober. Drew Dober is not a world beater, all right? He's nothing that's going to make you write home about. He's not going to ever contend for a championship. He's better than Michael Johnson. He's fought better than Michael Johnson. He has fought stiffer competition, and I think he's a better fighter overall. But I think the problem with Michael Johnson is, like, they tried to match up Michael Johnson against Daniel Zellhuber to try and put Daniel Zellhuber over after that incredible fight that he had against Esteban Ribovics, where they went toe-to-toe, and it was a war. Doesn't really seem like Daniel Zellhuber's ever been the same since, because he once again lost to UFC Mexico in bad fashion to Bobby Green. I don't think there's anything wrong with losing to Bobby Green. There's something wrong with losing to Michael Johnson if you're an MMA fighter. Like, I'd lose to Michael Johnson, for the record. But when you look at Drew Dober, like, the guy has fought some legit killers in there. Whether he's come out on top or not, he's fought some killers. And a lot of times he does end up making it a good fight, and a lot of times he does end up coming on the right side of it. I don't see Drew Dober as a Michael Johnson type, meaning I don't think Drew Dober would have survived a 2-7 stretch. Whatever that stretch was that Michael Johnson just kept losing, I don't think Drew Dober survives that in the UFC. Some reason, hey, Michael Johnson is a company guy, I guess, and he ends up surviving that. I think he ends up getting knocked out by Drew Dober. I think one of the things that will help Drew Dober big time, and it usually does help Drew Dober in a lot of fights, is that he trains at elevation. Michael Johnson fights an American top team in Florida. I think the elevation will absolutely help just with the cardio, because I think when you've got 2 guys that are willing to stand and trade like these two, I think the speed advantage will be with Michael Johnson, but I think eventually you're going to see Drew Dober walk him down. I think he hits harder, and I think he ends up putting Michael Johnson out. And when you're getting hit and you're getting clipped, you're wearing on that gas tank, I think that the training and elevation will end up paying off a little bit for Drew Dober. Not a ton, but I think it'll pay off for a little bit. The next fight on the card is a fight to get another up-and-coming guy over, big time, is Raul Rosas Jr. going up against Rob Font. And this is, if there was a fight on the card where you go, okay, you're clearly trying to set up one guy to lose, I feel like this would be it. Because Rob Font is definitely a name. He's an exciting fighter because he's got really, really good hands, really strong stand-up game. He's not exactly equipped, I don't think, to fight a guy who is prone to strangle you, like a Raul Rosas Jr. I mean, it's only a matter of time before Raul Rosas gets this to the ground. And I think he's going to have to eat some shots to do so. But I also think he's learned big time from that fight he had against Christian Rodriguez, where he just gassed out. He got way too excited. He went in there. He gassed out. And since then, he has rattled off win after win after win after win. Granted, I think the most impressive thing about his path as he continues to, keep in mind, like he's still, 23, 24. I think the most impressive thing is the fact that the last 2 wins have come by unanimous decision. So he has worked on that gas tank. But I think in this case, he does end up strangling Rob Font, which is unfortunate because I like Rob Font. I like watching Rob Font fight. I definitely don't want to hear that stupid Chihuahua thing that Raul Rosas Jr. continues to try to make a thing. I don't think it's ever going to be a thing. I apologize if you can hear my dog drinking water in the background. But yeah, I mean, when you look at Rob, and I'm just looking at his record right now, Kyler Phillips, that was a really good win, unanimous decision. Gene Matsumoto, that was a split decision victory. He lost to David Martinez. And before that, it was like Figgy Smalls, Corey Sandhagen. Like, he has lost to the best of the best, and I think that's why the matchmakers have set this one up. Because it's pretty clear that they want Raul Rosas Jr. to be the next guy. They want him to be in the title picture. They want him to be somebody that they can really build up. Excuse me for a second. J-Roll, stop it. My dog's tearing up my couch. Stop it. Thank you. Act like a civilized human being. Appreciate it. That's not hiding anything. Like, this is a company that needs stars, and I think he could possibly be the next one that's propped up. This is a good way to do it. I mean, you're fighting a guy that's 22-9, but has, as I said, fought the best of the best in the division, and now he ends up going out there and with a record of like 15-1, to make it 16-1, it immediately puts him in the top 10 and immediately puts him in the title picture. Although I don't think he actually gets a title shot out of this, but it immediately puts him at least in the conversation. The next fight on the card is the co-main event. You've got Chao Borrello going against RDR, Ranier Dider. I don't think I said that right. That's why people call him RDR. Wasn't exactly a great showing for RDR last time out. He ends up facing Brandon Allen and quitting on the stool before the 5th round even starts. It was unfortunate because this is coming off of the biggest victory, I think, in his career, the Bo Nickel victory. I mean, he derailed the hype train that was Bo Nickel. And he follows it up with a fight in Brandon Allen that really could have put him in the title picture. You could have made a good case if RDR went out there and handled business that he would have gotten the next title shot. Instead, he ends up quitting on the stool. Now, he came out and said he had injuries and, he was anemic or something like that. There's a low blood cell count, yada, yada, yada. He's in for a big-time test in Chao Borrello because this probably would be, for Chao, if he ends up winning, he probably is the number 1 contender. If he ends up losing, it's a different story because I don't think there's any path where RDR ends up getting a title shot out of this victory. But in this situation, like, Chao's going to have to go out there and put on a show, and I think he knows that. I mean, this is a guy who has looked really, really good in his UFC run. But his last fight out, he ended up losing a unanimous decision to Nasruddin Imavov, and there's no shame in that. Like, Imavov is one of the best fighters in that division. But that was another example of, you have 2 fighters right now who were going up against each other in their last fights that were probably like, hey, if you do well in this, you're probably looking at a title shot, and they fell short. It's worth mentioning that Chao Borrello ended up facing Brendan Allen. If you want to do MMA math, he ended up winning that fight. I just think in the end of the day, like Chao Borello ends up just hitting really, really, really hard. And I think he ends up putting RDR to sleep. I don't think RDR's style of, the grappling and trying to get you down and I don't know if that necessarily works against Chao. We'll see. And I believe Chao fights out of the Fighting Nerds, and that's another point to him. He does. I just quickly looked. That's another point to Chao. Like that gym's hot. They've been hot for a while now. So I'm not saying that RDR's title shots are cooked. I think that if he wins this fight, he's going to have to win another one after that. But in this situation, I don't think he wins. I think he ends up getting finished. I think Chao Borello takes him to the woodshed. I think RDR tries to get it to the ground, and he probably tries to pull guard a few times, but it doesn't end up working at all because the damage he's going to take on the feet is going to be too much, and Chao's going to end up coming out on top. I think if RDR wins, it's not going to be a Bo Nickel situation of knee to the body. I think he's going to end up submitting him, but I just don't see that happening. And then the final fight, the main event of the night, you've got the BMF belt on the line. Bad motherfucker. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. What a fight. I mean, a lot of people have been waiting for this rematch for a while because in their first matchup, Oliveira ended up getting, freak injury and ended up giving the victory to Max. But to see where they have come since then is huge. I mean, Max ends up going on that run in featherweight where at one point you were like, he could be the greatest of all time at featherweight. I think that nod goes to Alex Volkanovski. A lot of MMA media just will guzzle the name Jose Aldo. I think it's Volk. But Max has since moved up, and I think the big test for me when you look at Max moving up wasn't the Justin Gaethje fight. It was the Dustin Poirier fight, which actually gave him he was defending the BMF belt, I guess, a stupid fake belt. But that to me was like my, oh shit, like he's actually arrived. You get knocked out by Topuria, hey, it happens. I mean, everybody gets knocked out by Topuria. It's to the point where, we're at the Rocky situation. I just want to go the distance against the guy. I'm not even expecting to win. But you beat Justin Gaethje for the initial BMF belt. Fine, okay. I want to see that rematch because that fight was completely changed when Justin ended up breaking his nose at the very end of the first round. And I want to see how that fight would play out if he doesn't break his nose. And look, credit to Max for breaking the nose. But I just think that fight right away, when he broke his nose, was like, oh, okay, this is going to be probably one-way traffic, and it was. So I wanted to know if that was a fluke. He ends up going out and facing Topuria, get knocked out, as I said, no shame in that. When you fight Dustin Poirier, though, in a retirement fight, when you fight a guy that's been fighting at 155 for years, when you fight a guy that you lost to at 155, your first step up was at 155 against Dustin Poirier, he took you to the woodshed, and you end up showing the levels in your game. You end up going out there and demolishing this guy. Home stage, retirement fight, family's there, and you end up just taking him to the woodshed. That's when I was like, oh, no, Max is a legit 155er now, and his body has acclimated to that size. You can see it. I think the one thing that hurts Max in this fight is the fact that Charlie Olives is a better ground game. And Charlie Olives apparently hits like an absolute fucking Mack truck. Justin Gaethje said the hardest he's ever been hit is by Charles Oliveira. You've seen the evolution of Charles Oliveira's game where he's become kind of a knockout guy. I think the one thing I like about Charles Oliveira is he seems to go where the fight takes him, though. If you're willing to give up the back, fine. He'll take that. If you want to stand and trade, fine. But he's not willing to just become a brawler. Like, an example is Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker has become the guy that's like, I'm just going to go out there and get my ass kicked. I'm not even going to try to submissions. I'm not going to try holds. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just stand and bang and trade. And it doesn't usually end up going well for him. Michael Chandler's kind of the same thing. Like, I'm just going to go out there and get my face caved in. Wrestling, I mean, I'm known for it, but I'm not going to do it. Charles Oliveira has not become that. When it comes to this fight, though, I'm really torn. I mean, I'm such a big Max Holloway fan. He's probably my favorite fighter on the roster right now, by far. But it's the all-around game that Charles Oliveira has that worries me for Max. And I think initially they are probably going to stand and trade. And then eventually Charles Oliveira will probably try to get this to the ground, and that's where it's how much is Max trained on getting out of those. I think he's probably trained a lot, but you got to keep in mind that the last couple guys that he's fought, Poirier, Topuria, Gaethje, they've all been stand-up guys. This is the first guy that's got a legit BJJ black belt. I'm torn. I really want to pick Maxx. I think I kind of got to go to Poirier. Or not to Poirier, jeez. Yeah, I'll go to Poirier. I think I hit thumbs down for that. I think I have to go Charlie Olives. When I bet, rest assured, I'm betting Maxx because I'm going to bet with my heart because this really could go either way. But I think I have to go with the overall better fighter, and I think the overall better fighter, and this is no shade on Maxx, I think it's probably Charles Oliveira. So I will go with that, but it wouldn't surprise me if Maxx ends up winning a decision because they stood and traded for the majority of the first 3 rounds, and then all of a sudden, Oliveira looks up and he goes, "Oh shit, I'm behind." You know, that last minute takedown in round 3 didn't exactly win over the round, and now he's playing catch up, and Maxx has already banked 3 rounds. So I'm gonna go Charles Oliveira. I don't feel good about it. All right, keep in mind I feel yucky about it, but there you go. As far as the undercard goes, real quick, I do like a couple of the fights on the undercard. I think there's some definitely some names on the undercard that will keep you entertained for sure. So let's take a look. The headlining card on the prelims is former champ Cody Garbrandt going against Long Zhao. I know nothing about his opponent. And Cody's been such a weird fighter to watch because that night that he faced Cruz, he was the best in the world. I mean, he put on an absolute masterclass. And since then, it's like those TJ Dillashaw fights where he lost something in those, like completely. And he hasn't been the same since. I don't know what it is. He tried to go to 125. That didn't work. He's back at 135 for this fight. I don't know if the 3 rounds really help him all that much. You know, he loses to Figgy Smalls. Figgy Smalls is kind of cooked now. He last fight out, he faces Ronnie Barrelos, who's, you know, a veteran in the game, but like he lost to him. Like you look at the wins that he has in the last couple of years, and it's nothing great. I hate this. I mean, I don't know anything about his opponent. I'm going this based off of just strictly Cody. I got to go with this Long Zhao guy. Take that for what it's worth, because I don't know anything about him. I'm strictly going on Cody Garbrandt. Just never living up to the former champion title. Before that, you've got one of my locks tonight. Again, I have no idea what the betting line is for this. Alberto Montez against Ricky Tercios. Ricky Tercios should not be on a UFC roster. Put him in the Michael Johnson category. The only difference is Michael Johnson at one time in his life deserved to be on the UFC roster. Ricky Tercios has never deserved to be on the UFC roster. He's going to go out there. He's going to get beaten the fuck up. It's going to be bad. The only question is, how does it happen? Does he end up getting finished or he ends up unanimous decision? Either way, his head will be hung. He will end up losing, and then I think he ends up getting cut because he sucks. He is so bad. He comes from probably the worst season of The Ultimate Fighter, where he didn't deserve to win. Well, I guess he deserved it because he won the fights, but like nobody from that class was good, and we're stuck with him now. After that, there's a couple guys that are like names, but nothing great where you go like, oh my god, I can't wait to see that particular matchup. But it's more like, oh, I can't wait to see that particular fighter. An example is that like I always like seeing Cody Brundage fight. He's a fun fighter. He's facing Dante Johnson, who's 7-0. So that'll be a good test for Dante Johnson. But Cody Brundage always ends up giving you a really nice fight. Nice fight? What am I saying? This is the problem when I talk 20 minutes straight. But yeah, so there you go. All right, back to the recap for you for the main card. I have G-Rod knocking out Bruno Ferreira. All right. The next fight, I have Michael Johnson losing to Drew Dober and getting finished by Drew Dober. I have Raul Rosas Jr. strangling Rob Font and getting a submission win. Then I have Chao Borello finishing RDR. And at the very end of it, I have Charles Oliveira beating Max Holloway. Don't know how it happens. Don't feel good about it. But I have that happening. There you go. Let me know what your predictions are as far as comments go. I'm probably going to only respond to channel members. To support the channel by becoming a channel member, it would help. Hit thumbs down if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked or if you thought any of my analysis sucked. I get it. Hey, we're all just guessing here, right? Just me and you here. Subscribe to the channel. That would be cool. And come back for the post show where I will own up to all of these mistakes that were bound to happen, because what you really should do is fade all these picks. All right, I'm going to go now. Go Sixers.
Yeah, the Jared McCain trade was bad. We all know that. Do I need constant reminders about why the Jared McCain trade was bad? Do I need the constant updates on Twitter every time Jared McCain goes off and subsequently the Sixers lose? I don't need that in my mental psyche. I really don't. I don't think you need that. I don't think we all need to be reminded about the fact that the Sixers made a bad trade. They traded a young, really good guard and got in return. I mean, they got a first-round pick that's going to be a mid to late first-round pick. They got 3 number 2s. Cool. When that trade went down, though, I remember I got a text from a friend who said, "You think they're going to do anything else?" And I said, "Yeah, this isn't it. Like, there's no way the big acquisition is picks. They will make something. This is a precursor to a bigger move." And then the bigger move never came. And we sat here as Sixers fans and went, "Are you serious? That's it? We got a late pick in the first round for a guy, by the way, that was drafted, 16th overall? We got a late pick in the first round and 3 number 2s? Cool." Doesn't help the fact that he goes to Oklahoma City and immediately starts producing in a way that we hadn't seen him produce in Philadelphia this season. Now, last season when he, came on the scene for a very, very, very bad Sixers team, we all thought, okay, this could be the glimmer of hope. Maybe they got a diamond in the rough here. Maybe they did something that is very tough to do, which is get a very, very, very good player in the teens or later. Now, credit to Daryl Morey, okay? And I know that nobody wants to hear this, but he's been very good at drafting while in charge of the Sixers. He tabs Tyrese Maxey at pick 21. Always appreciate Mike Muscala for that 3, by the way. He gets Jared McCain at pick 16. He gets VJ Edgecombe at pick 3. There have been other players that he's drafted, whether it be, Isaiah Joe. Who else? There's a second round picks in there, but players that maybe they didn't do much on the Sixers, but they at least became competent NBA contributors when you didn't think that was going to be the case. He's been pretty good at that. I would like to think that his eye for talent is there. The Sixers had basically one asset that they could trade to get something back, and that was Jared McCain. So the trade of Jared McCain wasn't surprising. What was surprising is the fact that they did the trade of Jared McCain not having a set trade after that. They were doing the trade for Jared McCain with the hope that they would get something. And we finally find out what that something is with Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports. He did a podcast or he wrote about it, but Cliff Notes version is he says the Sixers were going after Kawhi. The Sixers were trying to get Kawhi Leonard. The deal would have been Paul George and picks for Kawhi, and that would have been like a big game hunting situation, which is par for the course for Daryl Morey. He also mentioned that he thinks that the Sixers tried to make a run at Giannis, who ended up staying in Milwaukee. Same thing, big game hunting. And that is something that I have always said about Daryl Morey, which I respect in a way, but it can cloud his judgment, is he is very much Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, who was famous for saying, fuck them picks. He didn't care. He still doesn't care. He just traded first rounder or second rounder for, the cornerback for the Chiefs. Hit thumbs down for that. I don't know ball. But he just once again said, fuck them picks. He doesn't care about draft picks. And Daryl Morey was very similar. But Daryl Morey, I felt like, would get bloodthirsty with it at times. Whether it be signing Dwight Howard, whether it be trading for Russell Westbrook in Houston, whether it be trading for Chris Paul in Houston. Never really worked out, but he would make the big swing. He would try. And he never once got attached. I thought at the time that it was ridiculous the Sixers were even entertaining a Ben Simmons for James Harden swap while James Harden was trying to get out of Houston. Turns out they were, and I guess we see why, right? I mean, where's Ben Simmons these days? So Daryl Morey has made his career with doing this, with doing the big swing and trying to get as much talent in a starting 5 as possible. And with Paul George out, And I think Paul George has played well this year, but with Paul George out for 25 games, he's in the middle of that suspension. Yeah, okay, if you can move up and get a Kawhi or get a Giannis, I mean, Giannis is going to cost way more than Kawhi because Kawhi at this point is a diminishing asset that just never really seem to stay healthy. But if you can do that, I don't blame you. The issue that I have is you trade Jared McCain and you don't have the backup plan. You were just banking on, okay, we're going to trade Jared McCain and we're going to get these picks. And no way that doesn't work. No way we don't go big game hunting and somebody swings and we do a deal. And they didn't. And you're left with Dick All. And when that trade, or when the pick ends up getting, set in stone, whether it be pick, 25, 24, 26, whatever it is, when it gets set in stone, I feel like it loses its value. Because how many people are dying for a late pick in the first round of the NBA, which is a guaranteed deal? That's why I feel like in the 20s to the last pick in the first round, that's why I feel like you see a lot of Euro stashes, because they don't know. They don't want to guarantee that contract. So they'll end up taking a European player, hoping to God that he ends up amounting to something. If he does, great. You bring him over, guaranteed contract. You kind of know what he's going to be. If he doesn't, you just never sign him, and you revoke his rights, and it doesn't even matter. Which we've seen the we've seen the Sixers do a few times. But I just don't really need to hear the constant Jared McCain updates, because I don't think it's doing Sixers fans and the community any good. I understand the frustration, and I think that Daryl Morey got a little Sam Hinkie-ish with this trade, in the sense that Sam Hinkie would never take the human element into effect. He never thought about how it would affect human beings, whether it be being in trade rumors, whether it be starting lineups, or whether it be told one thing, done the next. Like, it didn't really seem to affect him. He didn't care. And part of that, I think, was the reason, or part of the reason why I think he didn't care, is because he knew that the current team that Sam Hinkie was managing was not going to be a winning formula anyway. So, like, a lot of these players, it wasn't even going to matter. With Daryl Morey, it's a different situation. And when you trade Jared McCain, and it clearly has an effect on the locker room, and guys are still kind of moping around because the fun-loving Jared McCain ain't there, you got to take that into effect. I don't expect the Sixers to really do much in the playoffs. Like, I have Sixers season tickets. I'm not buying the playoffs this year. First year, I'm not buying the playoffs, because I just don't have the faith that they're going to really do much. I think that they're an interesting team in the sense of, if they're healthy, which, we say every year, but if, like, Joel Embiid is healthy, VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George comes back from suspension, yeah, like, they could make some noise. But at the end of the day, what does it matter if that noise is nothing? If the noise doesn't result in a championship, then it's nothing. And I think for Daryl Morey, he's recognizing that, and it's causing him to make rash decisions, like trading Jared McCain for picks, and then not really having a set agreement in place where you can bring something back. I mean, let's be real. Like, their trade deadline was selling Eric Gordon, selling Jared McCain, bringing in Campaign, and that's it. And that's gross. It just is. But I have to have faith in Daryl Morey, because he's done a pretty good job other than this. I don't think that this year was going to be the year anyway, but it'll be interesting to see if they could turn that pick into something in the offseason. Because you got to remember, they did end up, in his first year in that draft, like, they ended up trading the Al Horford contract to OKC. They ended up getting DeAnthony Melton in that deal. Like, they have been able to do some interesting things under Daryl Morey in trades. Okay, fine. Like, let's see what he can cook up. Do I have faith that he's going to be able to cook up a superstar? No, but he will try. I don't know how much that really helps you sleep at night, but he'll try at least. But at the end of the day, I'll say it for the third, fourth, fifth time. I don't need the updates on Jared McCain. I'm good. He's in Oklahoma City. He's making TikToks. I'm happy for the guy. I really am. I don't know why he kind of fell into Nick Nurse's doghouse. I don't know if it's a situation where Nick Nurse is bringing him along slowly because of the injury. I don't know if he just lost rotation minutes because Quentin Grimes was clearly the number one guy off the bench. It doesn't look great when you trade him to the reigning NBA champions and immediately he starts producing because as a fan, you go, okay, he can't get minutes with us. We're the 6th seed in the East, but he can get minutes with them. That's interesting. I get it. I do. But it ain't helping anybody. I'm kind of over it. That's just me. How do you feel out there? Let me know in the comment section. As far as the comments go, I'm probably only going to reply to channel members. So become a channel member. It would really help the channel grow, and it would help me and supporting me. That'd be cool of you. But you can also subscribe. Subscribing helps too. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. You guys know the deal. All right, I'm going to go now. Go Sixers.